Hello and welcome to the Business Spotlight interview series. I am your host, Barrett McDonald, and I am joined today by Christina Goudy, CEO and co-founder of Reach Orthopedics. Christina, thank you so much for taking the time today to chat with us. Would you like to start things off with telling us a little bit about who you are and what your company does?
Yeah, thanks so much, Barrett. So as you introduced me, I'm Christina and I'm CEO and co-founder of Reach. And at Reach Orthopedics, we are developing a durable shoulder implant to treat patients that are suffering from massive irreparable rotator cuff tears. We found that middle-aged demographic is really underserved by the technologies that are already out there. And so we're looking to serve the unmet need in that 40 to 70 years of age demographic.
Nice. That sounds like some pretty noble work and the odd hurdle in between, for sure, that you're probably working through. So, as you've kind of started out in business, what would you say are some of the common misconceptions about being an entrepreneur and being a business owner and leader?
Um, I guess for myself, being an entrepreneur, I didn't start out as the entrepreneur. I started out sort of in an operations sort of position, which led me up to that CEO. And it was after I was with the company for about a year that I was brought on as co-founder because I really helped to build that business side.
Okay.
But being an entrepreneur, I don't think you necessarily are working for yourself, even though everyone says, "Oh, I'd love to work for myself." You still have responsibilities, I think is
Right.
one of the most important things. Whether or not that's getting your product out there or it's to your employees or to any clients you have, you're not ever truly working for yourself. So I think that's important to note. There are others that depend on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about hiring, retaining, whether it be consultants or employees, what are some of the traits you look for, and then how do you foster a positive work environment?
Yeah. So with us, where we are very much so at this point in time, sort of a research-based group that we're then moving into our clinical trials. There hasn't been a lot of external hiring, but of course, in terms of consultants, we have had that. But since again, it's medical devices and healthcare, you need to be hiring people who already have that experience.
Right.
And those who don't have that experience would already be working under those who have that experience in order to gain it as well. So really just sort of referrals are really kind of the best. That's what I need to know, that they've worked with either other companies locally within the like Atlantic Canada ecosystem, or there's a couple of suppliers, consultants in the States that we've utilized, and we kind of need to see their track record in order to know that they are who is best for us to work with. And that can be difficult sometimes in our space where it's very niche and not a lot of people do exactly what we're doing, but it keeps us on our toes. And yeah.
Absolutely. And can be all encompassing and time consuming. So when you think about trying to create that balance between being in your office, doing the work, and then having some personal time, how do you go about making sure that that happens for yourself?
I guess, well, it helps that I do work from home still. Our team is kind of across Eastern Canada, so that certainly helps. Um, and I would say both my partner and myself both work from home, and I think we almost work more now that we're working from home than we ever did, you know, pre-COVID-19, pre-pandemic, because we don't have those sort of breaks to talk with our coworkers or go get a coffee or that water cooler talk.
Yeah,
So for us, it's, taking our dog out and playing with her for 10 minutes. That's our sort of break time. Um, and I think it's sometimes can be hard. Sometimes I find myself falling asleep at night, just kind of worried what I have to do the next day to make sure that things get done. Um, but staying like I make sure I go to yoga twice a week. I have certain things that I set my schedule, but this is what I do, and this is for me, and I'm going to do that sort of thing. So that's very helpful and helps to sort of relax the mind and think of other things sometimes.
Yeah. Throughout the Spotlight series, there's been a lot of business owners and leaders that have emphasized being purposeful with scheduling those things, and giving yourself permission to look after yourself. There's only one you, and you can't operate at peak performance if you don't take those breaks and do those things. So
Yeah, I'm throughout the beginning of this year, so January, February, even into March, I have a lot of meetings and quite busy, but I do try to make sure that at least one day a week I don't have other meetings. So I can do kind of things for myself if I want to, but also can get caught up on other work requirements as well. So that's just kind of giving myself an extra day so I can breathe a little bit and not feel overwhelmed.
yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to do it. So thinking back to getting going, if you were to start all over again as CEO and co-founder, what would you do differently the next time around?
Well, seeing as I wasn't the one who first set up the company itself, I came into a little bit of things were a little, there's information here, information here. I think I would try to have it a little bit more organized to begin with.
Yeah.
And even though I've come in and I've tried to organize it myself, and I do occasionally get that done, but then it also can sometimes fall to the wayside when you're just busy and you kind of forget about that organizational structure that you did provide yourself for everything. So, I mean, even talking about it now, I could probably provide myself more time just to ensure things are organized appropriately, which I probably should be doing. But
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it happens every few months where I'll give myself some time to do that. But yeah, just that organization and but that can also be expensive in terms of registering a business and all of the other things that go along with it. There is those upfront costs as well, which is one of the reasons why sometimes everything isn't perfectly neatly organized when you first get into the business.
Yeah, because a lot of times you're still working a job while you're getting things up and off the ground, and that's the first thing to go by the wayside as organization. And I think that's why there's been a tremendous movement in virtual assistants at different fees and rates that can help do that. And there's some expensive ones and there's some inexpensive ones, and the work they do is astounding. So it makes it really good. So what would you say have been your biggest learnings as an employer now that you've gotten going? Not necessarily you have too many employees, but when you're engaging in subcontractors and those things, what have been some of the learnings of those?
Um, I think some of the learnings is just make it very clear what it is that we're looking for. Um, I mean, sometimes a service provider might give you something a little bit more, and so things are more expensive than what you anticipated. And maybe that wasn't discussed previously. So just trying to make it very clear, like, no, this is what our needs are. This is what we're kind of expecting. And just I think we had a situation like that occur, but then moving forward, very professionally just said, this is a little bit beyond what the scope of what we were asking for. And so moving forward, it was kind of like, okay, we're going to ensure that we give you an estimate of all the work that we're doing beforehand going forward. So yeah, just making it clear like what you're looking for. And a lot of contractors are very good with that. They, make it very clear. This is what you are getting for our services and for what you're paying. So
Yeah, and that's a very good way of being, which makes a whole lot of sense. So, what would you attribute your growth and momentum to right now?
I mean, I think we have a great product. And I think myself, I think I'm working very hard to, get our name out there. And at this point, as I mentioned to you earlier, Barrett, that we are in a financing round. So we're in our C round of funding. And really, it's just pushing what our device can do so that we can get that financing so we can move forward. And that's what our growth is attributed to. apply for basically everything that's med tech, med device, healthcare related that I possibly can. So even the VCs that I've been emailing, they will be at a conference that I'm going to in March, and making it very clear at the end of my email, like, can we set up a time to meet in March when we're at this conference together? That way, just making it very clear, like, I want this action to be, what's my ask? And my ask is, I am raising money, but I actually want to meet with you and just connect so I can talk to you about it as well.
Nice. That's a good way of approaching things. So as we're wrapping up right now, for our listeners and viewers watching locally and around the world, what's some pieces of advice you might have for someone who's on the fence about starting their own business and going on their journey?
I think that everyone needs to be open and to feedback, because you'll get a lot of it, and it won't always be positive. But just because you're getting negative feedback doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong.
Right.
It's just that person might not understand your business as well. And it just means you could still have a great product, unless maybe if they told you, no, this product is not great. If you've heard that a lot, then maybe you should rethink things. But it doesn't mean like, no, this is a bad product. It means you need to rethink what you're doing with this product. And you do see that a lot in healthcare as well, where companies will pivot completely as to what they're doing. And so I think being open to that feedback is kind of what's most important. Not every no's aren't necessarily a negative thing either, because they can also foster that growth that you'll have within your company.
Yeah, and I'm sure that sometimes it's just a signal that you have to refine your pitch and your elevator conversation. So all of that, everything's a learning. And that's one of the things we say here at Action Coaches. No one fails, all they do is learn. And the faster you learn, the more growth you can have. No one learns by succeeding on the first try.
Exactly. And also, everyone will tell you something different to do in your pitch. Everyone. There is not consensus across the board anywhere.
No.
There's always that like sort of 10 sort of template that everyone wants, but you need to tell your own story. And if you're able to get that across concisely, then that's really what everyone's looking for.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So thank you so much, Christina, for your time today. It was great meeting you and learning more about what it is you do at your business over there at Reach Orthopedics. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.